Henry exists at the foot of Mount Blue. And so there's that danger living out there at the end of the road, or at the beginning of the road to Temple. It's no longer a road, and almost immediately, even talking about Henry and living out at the foot of Mount Blue, one begins talking like Frost, because that experience of isolation in New England is so strong for both of them. And he has some of Frost's whimsicality, that love of play. Frost also was a classical scholar, and Henry loves, as I've already said, his languages, and to put into his poems little tidbits from outside, things that make me laugh.
I marvel at the rope that holds me, how it drops into its own thickness, and the yoke to plant that rides me with hard thighs. Landing on me now is the first snow, the rain that takes time. What season? I ask, I have to think, have to begin to pull on the syllables of winter. For me, a field with a horse is like a sentence with helpful punctuation.
Jump and ride spade down for the deep one, deep enough for the small. Lever out the glossy triangle, tearing grass hair. In the far corner, plant the bird, a warble, a grace note long, from the dark ages of bird song, feathers, bones, and air. I was very inspired by Henry because of his democratic spirit up here, and the way he included everybody as he did tonight. And I remember one time going back home, I think we lived in Boston at the time, and we had somebody from out of town coming to give a poetry workshop, and I was thinking of excluding a few people I didn't think were good enough poets. And then I thought of Henry. Henry would include everyone. And it turned out the people I thought I might exclude turned out to be the most interesting people there. So he has had an enormous influence in many people.
He certainly taught at Temple University. He read. He led protests. He is exceptional, marvelous, wonderful poet and person.
So unhappily magnified to me, this man who sees me as small as I see him large, both looking through the same telescope at different ends. Others disparage him to me, some tear him down. A few perhaps praise me to him. But when at rare times we meet inescapably on the lonely sidewalk and cannot talk, we edge around each other like game birds of different species. And because that is so, the instrument will not come down for life, but hold to the same sharp-focused ratio, our blindness toward each other.
I would bring these pieces of poems in and things, and at one point I brought in something that didn't want to be in short lines, and it actually looked like a paragraph. And so Henry was asking questions about it, and he said, well, what came before it? And I told him, and he goes, ooh! And he said, well, what came after it? And I told him, and he went, ooh! And so he said, well, the next time you come, bring the before and bring the after. And it's his fault. I spent 7 years writing a 700-page novel about working in the paper mill in Rumford, Maine. It's your fault, Henry. Thank you very much.
You're so crazy to be able to have a line like, each morning the shining ball lifts over the ridge to warm my Subaru. I mean, to see the music in the word Subaru and to put the word Subaru into this poem. This is really lovely. This is the loyalty. This is the one from which the title, so his loyalty. Henry is an absolutely out-of-the-box thinker. Sometimes I get impatient with it because it's over here and then it's over here, especially when we're trying to talk about anything practical.
This is entitled Henry. I wrote this at the kitchen table the other night. I've been working on it for 6 weeks, but it all comes out in a blob. On the outside, he's light and flaky. A combination Einstein and Keaton. On the inside, he's hard-boiled. One tough cookie, bit from, but never eaten. Wild Maine, Jesus shoes. Got no rhythm, got no blues. Unafraid to stand for what is right. Faced hard time, never showed fright. Henry is my hero, though some may disagree. He stood on his convictions. That's a patriot to me. Happy birthday, Hank.
He's a cat's ass. He's, he gives unconditionally of himself and has most of his life as a professor, and he gives to the community, and he kind of fits in anywhere.
This is a poem about everything, including the kitchen sink. Little epigraph by Bachelard. The little wings at Hermes' heels are sufficient to provide the propulsion. A poem about everything. On our nubbled cellar wall, behind the machine sloshing the diapers, I pasted the Altamira bison. Such good cutouts, soggy hillocks turning over and over, plus the long gone recalled to stick where it was, now seeable again. Everything in place, I flew upstairs, feathers sprouting from my heels, to follow Ms. Fortune down the ink trail, stuttering, stumbling sometimes to cellar music. Everything relates, like the tips of my fingers fronting my chin, even as the word so widens in two directions. So, in Yiddish, nu, any tome whose spine I lever from my shelves, the dishes waiting in our kitchen sink, to randomly govern again their moment.
I've known Joan and Henry for about 20 years. And first conversation I had with Joan was about her work at the Gardner Museum. And then to witness her going to grad school and opening her wonderful practice in Farmington, where I live, has been a joy to witness. And then there's Henry, that amazing man, full of charisma and conviction and kindness and tenacity. And he wrote a poem called Wordboarding in relationship to my son's career in snowboarding, and that will forever sit in my heart. Thank you for that. Oh, so that's on the Wheaties box, in case you've missed that. Henry made a Quaker Oats box, and Joan had taken a picture of him crawling out through the snow. And he brought me over the Quaker Oats box, which I just finished the opening. So happy birthday, and thank you for being the amazing people you are.
Wordboarding, inspired some years ago by Seth Wescott, the two-time Olympic snowboard cross champion, and his mother, Margaret Wescott, who's right here. I'm an ordinary man, a bread eater and user of the public library. Don't give me crap about elitism. Scholars, some claim, are books with arms and legs. Me, I'm just a clothed animal with time on my hands and grease on my elbows.
You're right. If you had studied harder, Villon once put it, you might have been wholly professional, doctored up and up and up, etc., along with...
Where are they now, all those vigorous Buffalonians, teenage Napoleons drawing circles around their bodies others dared not cross, young Bachs reading scores by moonlight, Owen Mangan, Marceline Van Gogh?
Are they alive still, where God creates great whales and the stars shine? And what did you do to deserve mortality?
May wax strings tug our yo-yos round the world back to some waiting hand.
Like St. Augustine. Ha! On time. You know what it all means until I ask.
So there, so here.